Well, what we need is a way to fight the battle. And wholeness prayer is just one way, but it's a tool, a set of principles, I guess, based on biblical principles. The first is to identify or take captive your negative feelings, thoughts, and actions. So be aware. You know, when are your arms down? When are you not in joy? When do you lose your hope? When do you think, I'm really no good, or I'll never amount to anything, or whatever the thought is that's robbing you? When do you blow up? When do you do something that you think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that? Catching those things, you know? This is a rat story. I hate rats. I really hate rats. And part of that may be because one day I was sticking my hand in my suitcase under the bed and one jumped out at me. So there might be some trauma, you know, in with my feelings about rats. But anyways, if you pretend you don't have a rat in your house, you still do. And I tried this. We like cereal from America, you know. So our kids are now all grown up, and they had brought over cereal to us when they came to visit for Christmas. So I'm a math kind of person, you know. So and we learned that if you don't eat the cereal in the order of the expiration date, when you do eat it, it doesn't taste so good. So. So what we did was put it in order. You know, I did this, and I wrote numbers on the box, and I lined them up in order. Well, one day I came into this room where they were, and I see little pieces of paper on the floor. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. There's little pieces of paper on the floor. And then I went out. And it did not occur to me that there was something wrong, you know? And how much does that happen in our lives? It's like, oh, there's little pieces of paper on the floor. Or maybe they're big pieces of paper on the floor, you know? Somebody's upset, or I just did this, or I've lost my joy. But I don't really think about it. Well, the next day, or actually this rat only came on Sunday mornings, I believe. The next week, you know, there's like more stuff on the floor, and I figured out, okay, this rat he's eating my cereal, you know? Like, you heard the expression, it eats your lunch, you know? I mean, he's got my breakfast. I mean, this is bad. So anyways, it goes on, and I realized that time there's a rat, and now that he's eaten my cereal, so I realized something needs to be done about the rat. So we tried doing the normal rat things, which for us involves putting some glue on a piece of cardboard and sticking it under various places. And so we did that. But this rat, he was probably this long, not counting his tail. Yeah, he was not a nice rat. So he got on the glue, and then he got back off of the glue, and then he became a smart rat. And so anyway, to make a long story short, he ate the cereal boxes in order. Which included after I put them away in boxes to hide them, which is also what we try to do sometimes, you know? And he still found them and ate them in order, and he was still destroying our stuff. And so we finally called the rat exterminator, who came and exterminated the rat. There was cleanup involved, though, afterwards. And the rat guy came and looked for the rat and could not find the rat. And so 3 days later, we smelled the rat. And Dave came and took the rat away. But just think about how that fits with your life, which is the reason why I'm taking time with that illustration. You know, we get our lunch eaten. We want to pretend there's no rat in our house. And there's still a rat. So we have a rat exterminator who's really good at it. And he can do the cleanup really well, too. But we get involved in the process as well. We have our part. Well, let's move on. So we want to identify. The next step is we want to bring him to God and ask him to reveal a recent related memory. What's a recent time this was going on? And that's a lot easier to connect with than trying to say, okay, where did this come from? You know, and it helps us to connect with it emotionally. And I'll emphasize that all this is being done through prayer. Asking God, show us where our joy's been robbed. Show us what you want to do. And then listening to the person and praying the next thing, and just a three-way conversation with God. So after the recent related memory, we're asking God to reveal any roots. And that's as we're connecting with those thoughts and feelings in that recent related memory, as the person connects with them, as much as God wants them to. And then just asking God to show them the first time they felt this way, or if that's been a pattern in their life. And then from there, as they connect with those thoughts, feelings, and whatever else was going on, and other things may come up as well, like forgiveness and vows and such. But just to keep the process simple for the moment, this is just basic steps. So as we're connecting with those thoughts and feelings, asking God to reveal his perspective in that memory. What was he doing? What was his perspective on whatever our questions are? Anything that's not peaceful in the memory. What was that? What was God's perspective? And then receiving his perspective both in at the root, but also in the recent memory. And then we're looking at application. How does this apply in everyday life? Now, obviously, the memory doesn't change. It's our perspective that gets broader, because we've not seen all of God's reality in that memory before. So we're just getting more of his perspective in there. But then how could it have applied if we'd known that then? How might it have applied then? How might it have applied in the recent memory? And then how can we apply it in the future? So those are the 5 steps. Are there any questions about that before we go on? So if our joy is stolen, I mentioned that before. See, his arms are down. He looks pretty sad right now. Or if we have unhealthy thoughts or acting in unhealthy ways, these are signs there's something we need to take captive and pray through. And I ask God, show me, because I might miss when there's a rat in the house, but I'll ask God, show me when a rat is running around. It's like those little foxes, in Song of Solomon. Yeah. So paradigms that are different. Immediately offering advice. You saw some of these in the skit. Immediately giving direction. Immediately teaching biblical principles. And I'll comment on those 3. There is a time for offering advice, for giving direction, and for teaching biblical principles. Wholeness prayer is going after God speaking first. And that can be a really hard thing when we're used to the pattern of either filling the silence or, we've got an idea and it's probably a good one, but letting God speak first and facilitating, creating that sacred space where somebody can just connect with their best friend, who's our best friend, and we're just friends together going to our best friend, our great counselor and wonderful God. The usual pattern of intercessory prayer is also different. It's great alongside it. It's a wonderful, integrated tool with it, but it's different. And counseling is different.